Black pepper sits in nearly every kitchen on Earth, so familiar that nobody stops to ask how it got there. But for centuries, this single spice was valuable enough to pay rent, settle ransoms, and serve as wages. Arab and Venetian traders controlled the supply for hundreds of years, and the hunt for a direct route to the source is one of the reasons European ships started crossing oceans. The peppercorn is the dried fruit of a climbing vine native to southern India. And here is the part most people miss. Black, white, green, and red peppercorns all come from the same berry, just picked at different stages and processed differently. But there is another pepper, from a completely different plant with a much bigger reach. Chili is the most consumed spice on Earth by volume, eaten at roughly 20 times the rate of black pepper. And yet before the 1500s, nobody in Asia, Africa, or Europe had ever tasted one. It was first cultivated in what is now Mexico thousands of years ago. When Portuguese and Spanish traders carried the seeds across the Atlantic, cooks in India, Thailand, Korea, and West Africa adopted it so quickly that those cuisines now feel unimaginable without it. The burn does not come from the seeds, despite what most people believe. It comes from a compound called capsaicin, concentrated in the white inner ribs of the fruit. Shake out every seed and the heat barely drops at all. Today, chili forms the backbone of paprika, cayenne, gochugaru, Aleppo pepper, and hundreds of regional blends around the world. Chili conquered the planet in 2 centuries. The next spice had already been doing it quietly for 2,000 years. Most people have eaten cinnamon their whole lives without ever tasting the real thing. What fills most cinnamon jars in the United States is actually cassia, a close botanical relative that is cheaper, more aggressive, and has a bold, bittersweet bite. True Ceylon cinnamon from Sri Lanka is softer, more delicate, and far less common on store shelves. You can tell them apart by looking at a whole stick. Cassia curls into a single thick scroll. Ceylon cinnamon is made up of many paper-thin layers rolled together, almost like a cigar. Ancient Egyptians used cinnamon in embalming, and Arab merchants kept its origin a closely guarded secret for centuries to protect their price advantage. The way it is harvested is worth picturing. Workers cut young branches, strip away the rough outer bark, and peel off the paper-thin inner layer, which curls naturally into tight quills as it dries. Those scrolls of bark are what eventually get ground into the powder that flavors chai, churros, mulled wine, and Moroccan tagines. Cinnamon hides inside bark. The next spice hides inside a flower, and it costs more by weight than gold. Saffron is the most expensive spice in the world, and the reason is pure arithmetic. Each crocus flower produces exactly 3 red threads, the stigmas, which are the tiny structures that catch pollen. Every one must be picked by hand, and the flowers only bloom for a brief window each autumn. Miss the harvest by a few days, and the petals wilt and the crop is gone. It takes roughly 70,000 flowers to produce a single pound of dried saffron, which is why that pound can cost several $1,000s. Those 3 delicate threads per flower are the entire harvest, and they are the reason saffron colors and flavors, Spanish paella, Italian risotto milanese, Persian rice, and Indian biryanis. A tiny pinch dissolves into liquid and turns everything a deep golden yellow with a taste that nothing else can replicate. Saffron is expensive because of flowers. The next spice is expensive for an even stranger reason. It needs a specific bee. Vanilla is the second most expensive spice in the world, and the cost has almost nothing to do with the plant. It has to do with pollination. The vanilla orchid evolved alongside a small native bee found only in Mexico. Everywhere else, that bee is absent, which means every single vanilla flower grown commercially outside Mexico must be pollinated by a human worker, one bloom at a time, by hand. The Totonac people of Mexico were the first to cultivate it, and the Aztecs used it to flavor chocolate drinks. When the Spanish brought the plant to Europe, every attempt to grow it elsewhere failed for over 200 years because nobody understood why the flowers kept dropping without producing pods. The vanilla bean is the seed pod of a climbing orchid, and the warm, sweet smell most people know does not exist in the living plant. It only develops during a months-long curing process of sweating and sun-drying after harvest. Vanilla needs human hands to exist almost everywhere it grows. The next spice needs them too. because the pods grow somewhere nobody would think to look. Cardamom is the third most expensive spice in the world, and most people who eat it regularly have no idea it is there. It hides inside Indian chai, Swedish cinnamon buns, and Arabic coffee, adding a cool, slightly minty warmth that is hard to pin down unless you know what to listen for. The plant is native to the forests of southern India and Sri Lanka. Arab traders carried it to the Middle East, and then the Vikings encountered it in the markets of Constantinople and brought it home to Scandinavia. That single historical accident is the reason Scandinavian baking today uses more cardamom than almost anywhere outside South Asia. The pods do not grow on branches or at the top of the plant. They grow at ground level, on creeping stems that snake along the forest floor, each one picked by hand before it fully ripens. Crack open a green cardamom pod, and inside are small, sticky, intensely aromatic black seeds that can flavor everything from Finnish bread. Cardamom connects India to Scandinavia through a Viking trade route. The next spice connects the ancient world through a smell so powerful it was buried alongside the dead. Cumin seeds have been found inside ancient Egyptian tombs, placed there thousands of years ago, possibly as provisions for the afterlife. The plant is native to a wide belt stretching from the eastern Mediterranean through to South Asia, and it appears in some of the oldest recorded recipes in history. Arab merchants carried it across North Africa and into the Iberian Peninsula, and Spanish colonizers later brought it to the Americas, where it became essential to Mexican cooking. Here is the thing. What looks like a cumin seed is actually the dried whole fruit of the plant. Split one open, and there are two halves inside, each technically a separate seed. That warm, earthy, slightly smoky taste shows up in falafel, taco seasoning, hummus, and Indian dals. It is one of those background spices that sits in so many dishes that removing it would make half the world's food taste noticeably wrong. Cumin is a tiny fruit most people mistake for a seed. The next entry is two completely different products hiding inside one piece of fruit. Nutmeg and mace come from the same tree, from the same fruit. Picture something that looks like a small peach. When it ripens and splits open, bright red lacework wraps around a dark seed inside. That lacework is mace. The seed underneath is nutmeg. They taste similar but not identical. Mace is sweeter and considered more refined. Both trace back to the tiny Banda Islands in eastern Indonesia, and European colonial powers fought wars and displaced entire populations to control those few volcanic islands because of what grew inside this one fruit. The monopoly held for generations until smuggled seedlings finally spread the trees elsewhere. Today, nutmeg shows up in bechamel sauce, eggnog, and pumpkin pie spice. Mace goes into lighter pastries and cream sauces. Two spices, two prices, one fruit that cracks itself open on the tree. Two spices from one fruit is unusual. The next pair is even stranger. Two unrelated plants on opposite sides of the planet arrived at the exact same flavor. Star anise and regular aniseed both taste strongly of licorice, and most people assume they must be related. They are not. Regular anise is a small herb from the Mediterranean. Star anise is the dried fruit of an evergreen tree from southern China and northern Vietnam. Different plants, different families, different continents. Both produce the same dominant flavor compound, a molecule called anethole, purely by chemical coincidence. The fruit is a cluster of 8 woody pods arranged in a perfect star shape, each holding a single seed, but the seeds inside contribute almost no flavor at all. All the aroma sits in the walls of the pods, and the seeds are usually discarded during cooking. Star anise traveled ancient Chinese trade routes into Southeast Asia, was later adopted into South Asian spice blends, and eventually made its way into French anise liqueurs. Today, it is one of the defining ingredients in Chinese 5-spice powder and Vietnamese pho. 2 plants, 1 accidental flavor. The last spice does something that no other spice on earth can do, and it has nothing to do with taste. Sichuan pepper is not a pepper. It is the dried husk of a berry from a tree in the citrus family, and it does not produce heat or pain the way chili or black pepper does. Instead, it creates a buzzing, numbing, almost electrical sensation on the tongue that feels like touching a vibrating surface. Scientists have confirmed the mechanism. The active compound triggers the same nerve fibers that detect fine vibrations, so the tongue reads it as a physical sensation, not a chemical one. The spice has been used in China's Sichuan province for thousands of years. It was actually banned from import into the United States for decades, over concerns about a plant disease it could carry, and only became widely available again in the mid-2000s. The small black seed inside the husk is almost always removed, because all the flavor lives in the tiny, open, reddish husks that look like miniature flower petals. Today, Sichuan pepper defines mapo tofu, hot pot, and a growing range of dishes built around a sensation that nothing else can replicate. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe. Click the video on screen to keep going.